On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Monarchy by one of my very favorite bands, Rivers of Nihil. Hell yeah. Hello.
Makes me giggle every time.
Well, I'm just noodling.
Noodling,
I'm air noodling. It's not even air guitar, it's air noodling.
And you're even putting some tongue action in there, too.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
And this is a podcast where we talk about metal albums that we like. Mm-hmm. It's also the best month of the year, Death Metal December. So all of the albums we talk about for this month are going to be death metal albums. We talked about one last week. We're going to talk about two more before the month is over.
Before the month is over.
And I'm excited for that. Like I said in the intro today, we're talking about Monarchy by Rivers of Nihil. First, though, some few orders of business, I guess, to get through. Number one, very appropriate for death metal December.
Weird. This is weird.
It's weird. I guess not as much as a coincidence as the whole unfortunate business about Manowar.
Right.
But I guess you can listen to the episode after our Manowar episode if you. That'd be the Silent Planet episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It was after Manowar. Anyhow.
Florida Man.
Yeah, Florida Man, a.k.a. Pat O'Brien from Cannibal Corpse, which is, as you might know, the most popular death metal band in the world, was arrested on multiple counts. And it gets weirder.
Yeah, it does.
It's not just, he was drunk driving or, he got into a fight or something like that. Well, he did get into a fight.
Well, yeah, with the cop.
With the cop. So, for some reason, it hasn't come out how the fire started.
In his home.
His home in Florida ended up ablaze. It was on fire. And while this was happening, Pat went. It's kind of funny. Well, nobody died.
Nobody was actually injured.
Nobody was injured. It's bizarre. So it's funny,
Right.
So while his house is on fire, he runs into his neighbor's house, and apparently, legally, it was considered burglary.
Sure. Because he didn't knock or anything. He just went in.
He went in. Apparently assaulted them, or it wasn't the difference between assault and battery is assault does not necessarily mean
you can
physical.
Verbally assault someone.
Yeah, that's still assault. So I'm not sure how physical the assault was, but he I guess assaulted them. Cops showed up. Mm-hmm. He apparently pulled a knife. Yeah, aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer with a deadly weapon. He pulled a knife on one of the cops that responded while his on-fire house in the background began to explode.
Well, because
he had not only ammunition for firearms.
Like you do.
It happened. It's Florida, Yeah, and he's a death metal guitarist. They can like guns, whatever.
Sure.
I've got ammunition in my house. It would be my parents' house. But I don't have guns here. But
I love what he actually had.
He had military-grade flamethrowers. And the ammunition for that, which I presume was tanks of napalm or whatever, exploded. Along with the bullets that were there.
They were causing a problem for the firefighters.
They were causing a bit of a problem for the firefighters. So, as of right now, according to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, Pat O'Brien was charged with aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer with a deadly weapon and burglary, occupied dwelling with assault or battery. And his bail has been set at $50,000, which seems kind of low.
It does seem kind of low.
Considering everything that we just said.
Because potentially, he hasn't been accused of arson.
Yeah, he might have set that himself. If nothing else, he put people in a fair amount of danger in the neighborhood around him. He put firefighters in danger.
Yeah.
He directly endangered a police officer. He pulled a knife on a cop. $50,000. We were talking about this at work the other day. I know why it's $50,000. It's because he's white, and it's Florida. That's the reason. Like, if you think about, like, here's how I know white privilege exists. A guy that looks like Pat O'Brien can pull a knife on a cop and not get shot.
Sure.
That's how I know white privilege exists.
Because he does look a bit frightening.
He's a bit, especially in the photo of him, in his booking photo. I'm sure some of that, damage to his face was possibly done by the police officers defending themselves. But like, that's
the neighbor.
Or maybe the neighbor. I hope so. But yeah, like we don't know why yet. That's the biggest thing. The rumor that I've been reading online is meth. Apparently, that's been a rumor about Pat O'Brien for a while.
It's a rumor. I mean, has it been confirmed?
Yeah, no confirmations that he was on meth, but that's been, I guess, a rumor about Pat O'Brien in the past that he's liked a little bit of
like stimulation,
a little bit of the crystal. He's trying some of Heisenberg's secret stuff. So just bizarre stuff. Happy Death Metal December, everyone. The biggest death metal guitarist in the world has been arrested. Now it's, what would you say is the second most popular death metal band right now?
The second most popular death metal band?
Yeah, because Cannibal Corpse is obviously number one. Oh, Cannibal Corpse, all this stuff, by the way, happens right after, on the day of, I believe, that Cannibal Corpse announced that they are going to be a part of like the last leg of Slayer's farewell tour,
right? With
like Lamb of God, and there was a couple other huge ass bands that were coming on this with Cannibal Corpse, and it's like this happens the day that maybe he couldn't take the pressure. Maybe Pat cracked under the pressure of having to tour with Slayer.
Maybe he was just celebrating.
He was celebrating.
He said, "Oh, I'm going to celebrate! Yay, we're going on tour with Slayer! Hey, let's break out the
crystal."
Salts.
It's Florida.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was just really sad that it's finally over with Slayer.
Maybe
that's. I get it then.
Maybe he's a complex fella.
Sure. That's still happening a little bit.
Oh man.
I'm mostly better after this weekend. Was there something else that you wanted to say about Pat O'Brien? I felt like there was something I was going to say.
No, if there was, it's past.
Yeah, I suppose it has. So yeah, just bizarre stuff to happen during death. Oh, the second most popular death metal band.
Oh, the second most popular.
If you could think of one, like what would it be?
Well, it depends but it's so nebulous now. It depends on what you're calling death metal.
I get like something that is like Cannibal Corpse, I guess. Like, I don't know how popular Bloodbath actually is as far as record sales, because Bloodbath is kind of a fun band for the most part. It's like, because it started out as a couple of the guys from Opeth going, what if we just made like death metal like we listened to when we were teenagers?
Sure.
So I don't know how popular they actually are as a fact of record sales, but...
What is the most popular health metal band?
The health metal band?
Health metal.
That's a great question. I mean, there's probably some bands that you can possibly consider health metal, like
something you listen to at the gym, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, or something where all the guys are super fit. Like, well, I was thinking of the Dillinger Escape Plan. I mean, they're not together anymore, and as far as I know, Greg is really the only member of the Dillinger Escape Plan that was like super jacked. Yeah, so I mentioned I've mostly, after this weekend, kind of gotten over the cold. It's still, I think it's mostly just throat at this point. Like, my throat is still a little sore, and that's causing me to cough a little bit. But generally speaking, I'm all right. Other things that happened this weekend, I was really frustrated for most of it because my new computer that I talked about last week and we recorded last week's episode on...
Took a
gigantic shit all over me. And not
in a good way.
I'm covered in computer shit right now. I'm now a cyborg. But no, it blue screened. It would, Windows would crash. The error would tell me memory management error, which I'm not a computer guy, so I did not immediately know what that means. I figured out how to do a memory diagnostic, which is easy. You look up memory diagnostic and press the button. And it immediately, Like a second into it, it was like, yeah, we got a hardware problem here. So I asked a couple of my friends, and they're like, probably faulty RAM. Like 99% of the time with new computers, if they're not working out of the box, it's faulty RAM. So I tried changing the RAM sticks and taking one out and trying to run it on one and putting it, but it didn't seem to work. Mm-hmm. So I
hear RAM Sticks is on tour again.
RAM Sticks.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? We're RAM Sticks. I don't know why my default band guy voice is Nathan Explosion. Well, I know why it's Nathan Explosion because I love Metalocalypse.
Well, of course. And why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? But no. So I sent it back to Amazon.
Free of charge.
Yeah, free of charge. I contacted the company that manufactured it because they have free tech support. Mm-hmm. Only on weekdays though, which was convenient. I had Monday and Tuesday off. Mm-hmm. So I called them on Monday and asked for a little bit of help, and they're like, "Yeah, that does sound like a RAM stick error, like a RAM, your RAM, something's wrong with them." And they said we could send you new ones in the mail, and you could try and replace them yourself if you're comfortable doing that, or you could send the computer to us. And I was like, "They're in California. If I send the computer to them, mm-hmm. I'm not going to get it back for a month."
Sure.
But if I send it back to Amazon and have them replace it, it'll be here within a week.
Nice.
It's actually going to be here tomorrow. So I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied with Amazon's return service. So thank you, Amazon Prime. I've never been disappointed in Amazon Prime. I've been disappointed in UPS because they'll show up, for a half a minute.
Sure. Oh, you didn't show up.
Yeah.
Package couldn't be delivered.
I don't have time to go down. Like I don't even have time enough to go downstairs before they leave. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, I've never had a problem with Amazon, and especially my Prime service. I love it. And I sent it back, and I'm waiting to get the new one. I should check the tracking number for the package that I sent them back mm-hmm. to make sure that it's going to arrive, so I don't get fucked over there. But they accepted my return request and immediately gave me a code to give to UPS. So UPS, I boxed it back up and hauled the heavy ass thing over to the UPS store, and
nice.
They slapped a little dealio on it and sent it on its way, I suppose. So yeah, that was really annoying. That happened to me this weekend.
At least you had your backup computer.
Yeah, I still have the old girl, and you know what? She hasn't really failed me. She's a little slow. Mm-hmm. She's a little old. She can't play the new games, but you know what? She works hard, and she gets the job done. And I was a little hard on her, I think.
There's a Yo Mama joke in there somewhere, but I'm just gonna leave that lie.
I was a little hard on the old Cybel. God damn it! Yes, I was hard. Boner joke. I was a little hard on little old cyber power. You're gonna keep laughing. I was too mean to my computer, mm-hmm. and I'm sorry for it. I do miss the keyboard and mouse that came with it, because it came in the box with the computer, so I had to send those back. Right? Yes, I damn well better. Because it was in the computer box. It shipped with the computer, not as a separate package, but like the box that the computer was in,
right?
From the manufacturer, keyboard and mouse were in there.
Right. It wasn't a separate box.
It wasn't a separate box grouped in with the Amazon box. It was in the manufacturer's box. So I said box a lot there. First I was talking about how hard I was. Now I'm talking about boxes. God damn.
You're just a dirty...
just
who's a dirty boy?
Who's Please never say that again. Never ever fucking say that again in my presence. God. Unless you're talking about a dog who has rolled in the mud, never fucking say that to me again. Oh fuck. We haven't even drank yet.
We gotta do that.
So
no, it's a mystery drink.
A mystery drink. It's brown. Mm-hmm. I put it in the Glencairns this time.
Yeah, so...
well, nose definitely smells like whiskey. Mm-hmm. Getting hints of, I want to say, apple a little bit. So I'm going to straight up guess this is some kind of Irish whiskey. You're smiling.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
It's Irish whiskey. So this is, I've drank far more Bushmills this summer than I have Jameson, so I'm gonna guess it's Bushmills.
It is not.
Is it? What is it? It is Jameson. Okay. Slightly, it's a Catholic whiskey as opposed to a Protestant whiskey. in the terms of Jimmy from The Wire.
Right.
He's like, hey, you guys got Jameson? We have Bushmills. Is that all right? It's Protestant whiskey, but it'll do. So good old Jameson. Yes, thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
For bringing some Jameson. I do love it.
Something pleasant.
Last week was pleasant. Mm-hmm. I mean, the name at first glance wasn't present. I took a sip.
And now he's no longer safe to drive.
Yep.
Operate heavy machinery.
No, Jim Beam is not really my thing, but it turned out pretty well. I liked that. So yeah, we got some good Jameson here. We've got Irish whiskey in a Scotch glass. Glencairns are usually for Scotch, but it works for any kind of whiskey. It
does.
It brings out the flavor.
I'm trapped.
You're trapped in your jacket.
I'm trapped in my jacket.
I'm trapped in the jacket. R. Kelly. I was playing
there we go.
A Jackbox game a couple weeks ago, and and the new one there is a rap battle feature. And I mentioned there was something about it gave me a prompt where I ended up saying like they were like an old rapper or the rap was out of date. And I said Nelly when I could have said R. Kelly, and then after that I could have very easily followed it up with a joke about piss, but I didn't think of I thought of R. Kelly the second after I hit the thing. And I hate those missed opportunities. Maybe I should become a rapper and make that rap.
That's called Esprit de l'Escalaire.
Diss on R. Kelly because something with piss. Piss rhymes with diss. Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I'm a born genius.
You have to write this down.
I'm a rap. Yeah, I'm a rap genius. I'm a rap god.
He's a rapscallion.
Hey, that'll be my name.
Rapscallion.
I imagine somebody has to have done that, right?
You would think so.
But this time I'm going to make it because since we don't know that someone has done that, they didn't make it. So I'm going to be the one that makes it with the name Rapscallion. This is not a rap podcast.
No,
this is a metal podcast. And we both listened to the same album this week as we do every week. I said that like that's not what we do.
You know what would be funny? Because I actually thought about it. Because I was trying to remember. Okay, which one of the albums was it? He said that I need to listen to. So it's the one that came before where Al's. Okay, yeah. So it's okay. Got it. Oh yeah, listen to this one.
See, at least you didn't even have to ask me because I've mentioned the album after this one so many times.
But then I thought, what if I heard him wrong, and it was their first album I was supposed to listen to? Then we would have listened to two different albums.
We would have, and both of them are still pretty good.
Yeah.
The first one's a bit more raw, as you might expect, an up-and-coming death metal band, but still good. Monarchy's a refinement of that style, and then Owls is a further refinement. So we're in the middle of the pack as far as Rivers of Nihil albums go. I like this album a fair bit, not as much as Owls, because I adore that album. I feel like everyone should know that because I talk about it every fucking week.
Every week.
So yeah, the album is Monarchy by Rivers of Nihil. I would say it's heavier than Where Owls Know My Name, but it's not quite as refined. I think going forward, what they did with Owls is going to be their sound. Like I think they're still searching for their sound, and I think Owls is kind of where they found it.
Nice.
Because I don't remember hearing about this album. I remember hearing about the band a little bit, but I don't remember hearing about Monarchy itself. And then when Owls came out, it was like, holy shit, everybody listen to this. So
there you go.
I'm gonna clear my nasal passage a little bit.
I loved this album, by the way.
I like that you loved it.
Yeah.
I don't love that you loved it. I won't go that far. But what specifically did you like about it?
I loved the way that they had these really sort of lush sort of synth pieces in the background that served as sort of a backbone for this balls out metal.
Yes.
in the forefront.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers.
Yeah, a lot of layers.
It's
like an ogre.
Like an ogre or an onion.
Yeah.
I think this album is also like Owls is a bit more upfront with those layers, and it plays with them a little bit more, and they come through more often. The synth and the I mean, this album doesn't have saxophone, but like the more relaxed elements come through a little bit more on Owls, whereas this one is more of a traditional death metal album, or at least like a tech death album. And it's a lot of just balls out heavy shit. What did you think of? I should look up the guy's name first, the vocalist.
You don't remember his name?
I don't. I used to have it in my head, but now I don't.
Of Nihil.
Rivers of Nihil.
Nihil. Yes.
Rivers of Nihil. Bill Nighy today
It's his 69th
turned
birthday.
69.
You know, I actually thought of that earlier.
Nice.
Nice.
People are wondering why we know it's Bill Nighy's birthday. Why? How did you come upon that earlier today, that it was Bill Nighy's birthday?
Don't you have it in your phone?
No, I don't.
No.
Oh, I suppose it showed up on your radio prep, didn't it?
Yeah, it showed up in the radio prep.
Okay. That
That's
makes
why.
sense. I forgot that they do birthdays on there.
We do birthdays at 8:15 every morning.
Yeah, I never talk about that because that's a you guys thing. Okay, so vocals for Rivers of Nihil done by Jake Diefenbach. Jake is he's a little guy. He's not very tall. I don't know how
Really?
tall he actually is, but he's like can't be much taller than like 5'6".
You know what my son said about him?
What did he say about him?
I can't understand what he's saying. His voice is too low.
His voice is.
That's what my 7-year-old said.
Well, see, for me, the thing that I love about Jake's vocals is I can understand him. He's extremely articulate.
Very articulate.
And I think part of that. So the interesting thing about Jake, as a vocalist or as anybody that makes music, is he has a degenerative hearing disease.
All right.
So he wears hearing aids, and he speaks actually with a little bit of a lisp, which you can. If you really pay attention, you can kind of hear it come through just a little bit on his vocals. But I think overcome that when he's performing, he really, really enunciates.
Right.
And then backing vocals is done by Adam Biggs, who is the bassist, and he provides a lot of the higher and lower end.
Gotcha.
So if you hear like any really deep like guttural growls
It's
or
Biggs.
any higher, yeah, it's Biggs Darklighter. Luke's best friend. Hey, Biggs.
No, it's Jason Biggs.
Jason,
from the Apple Pie movies.
Yeah.
From the Apple Pie movies.
Yeah, the Apple Pie movies.
You know where they had the apple
mean-
pie?
You mean American Pie? You mean American Pie?
Yeah, it was an American movie where they had pie,
Yep.
and the boy put his schwanz in the pie.
Yeah, okay, now I know what you're talking about.
All right, yeah.
The American Cake movies. Canadian Cake.
Canadian Cake.
I'm going to make that movie now. It'll be Canadian Cake. Nothing crazy or absurd or gross happens. It's
No.
just a movie about Canadians making cake.
Very polite people having.
Very polite people having. Your wife is going to be in it. I'm
sweet.
going to cast her, and she's going to be baking a cake.
She's an award-winning actress.
Is she?
She actually is. Yeah.
What'd she win?
Some awards for acting.
Did you know I'm an award-winning actor?
Did you win at the college or?
No, that was in high school.
Oh, in high school.
For one act. I didn't do enough acting in college to win any awards for it, unfortunately. Also, don't know if they do any competitive stuff at the college other than, well, there is. They go to the big drama festival, I suppose, where you can do that. I don't remember what it's called.
The Big Drama Festival.
There's a big big college drama festival. I don't remember what it's called, but
The BCDF.
it's something like that. Yeah. It's an acronym like that, and I never ended up going, but it was always kind of an option that I wasn't strictly a theater student, but I was sort of around there and took some theater classes, so I had an option to go, but I didn't. Anyway, we were talking about Adam Biggs, who's the bassist. So he does the really low gutturals, and if there's like a higher vocal,
Right.
he does that. Whereas Jake mostly sticks to his natural, his natural tone, his natural pitch,
growl.
his natural pitch,
Yeah.
I suppose, with his growl. Jake mostly sticks to that. And I like the back and forth that they have on occasion. And I always appreciate when a band has two unclean vocalists because You can do stuff with that you can't do if you just have one guy.
Right.
And you can do that live as opposed to if you do multi-tracks and whatnot.
I like that you call them unclean vocalists.
I mean, that's a term. People say that.
Those boys are unclean.
Those dirty boys. I can say it. I can say it. I can say it. You can't say it.
All right. Well, it's your house, your rules, I guess.
Damn right. But anyhow. Yep. So anyhow, when you have two people that are doing screams or growls or whatever, two unclean vocalists, when you have two of them, there are things that you can do with that you couldn't do with just one. Like you can do that in the studio, and you can multi-track and do different stuff. Cattle Decapitation does that a lot, where Travis does all kinds of wacky shit in the studio, but it's like you have to stick with one thing when you perform it live.
Sure.
And that detracts a little bit
from the live performance.
Yeah, a little bit. And I haven't directly seen Cattle Decap live. I've watched live videos of Cattle Decap, and I don't know if the recording has never quite been right, and recorded digitally from a live performance never sounds the same as it does when you're in the crowd.
Well, no, of course
I think
not.
it always, even if the recording is fantastic, it will always sound better if you're in the crowd.
Sure. Because when you're in the crowd, I mean, there's more of a feeling to it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the unity of the people, the band that's in front of you, the speaker sound.
Yeah, and you can't get that just from a video, even if it's great and you're taking sound off of the board and everything.
Right.
And whoever was doing front of house did a fantastic job, which in metal is sometimes kind of rare.
Yeah.
Which is fine because a lot of times you can get by on raw aggression and power and noise.
Sure.
But so I have seen live videos of Rivers of Nihil performing, and they nail it. They're fantastic because they have the two vocalists, because Jake doesn't, I mean, it sounds weird that it's like they're so much better because Jake doesn't do that wacky, because he doesn't have that much of a range, you know.
Right. But what he does have, he does very well.
Yes, he sticks to one thing and he does it great. One thing that I want to get into about this album specifically is that this seems to have a little bit more of a cohesive story to it than Owls does, because Owls is generally about the idea of the narrative for Owls is that there is this world and it is coming to an end, and these metaphysical beings around this world have selected one person to witness the death of this planet, essentially. He is given like an immortal body, and he has to watch this world die. But really, it explores outside of that narrative. It explores a lot more about just aging and feeling like your life is slipping away in front of you, and sort of real depressing shit.
Yeah.
But then it comes back, and Monarchy does this too, where it comes back and it ends up being uplifting towards the end, which is bizarre.
That last song.
Sun Told is very uplifting for an album that is categorically a technical death metal album. To feel uplifted and feel positive after listening to that is such a bizarre feeling, for especially everything that's led up to, and the whole listening experience is not what you're expecting from something that can be called death metal.
But the funny thing is that after Sun Told, I almost expect like an epilogical song, something.
Yeah, where it's like, sorry, everything sucks. Everything actually sucks. He died.
It's gonna be deathy again. Come on. But yeah, no, it was at the end of that.
That's how they end it.
I was left with just feeling very peaceful.
Yeah, you leave it feeling good, and that's how I feel about Owls too. I haven't paid enough attention to their first album to really see, if I feel the same way. But like Monarchy and Owls are similar in the sense that you leave a full listening feeling a little bit better. If you're in maybe a low mood, I think if you listen to this all the way through, you'll come out on the other side feeling a little bit better about something. And the story to this album, I'm not 100% certain if I understand it correctly. I haven't looked up any sort of official synopsis. This is all based on my understanding. So if somebody has a better understanding, or maybe after I'm done with this, I'll look up and see if any of my assumptions are correct. But I think what this album is about is there is a world in a world that's covered in sand.
Yeah,
sand is a bit.
Yeah, there was a lot of
talk about sand,
dehydration and sand. I love the song
Dehydration.
Dehydration, yeah, and
sand baptism.
Samtism. I love that song.
Sandtism. Sand baptism, also known as Darth Vader's hell. Anakin Skywalker's worst fear, a sand baptism. No, so it's that you've got this world that I feel like has to be heavily inspired by Arrakis from Dune. Like that. After reading a little bit of Dune, even before I had read, I still haven't finished it. I haven't actually gotten
Dune?
Yeah, I haven't gotten very far into it. I like it, and it's a page turner. I just need to sit down and read the fucking thing. But
it's a thick book.
It is a thick book. But so like even before, because I just from being alive and being a sci-fi fan,
sure,
I know a little bit about Dune. And the first time I had listened to this album before I had ever touched the book, I was like, I feel like I know enough about Dune to say this has got to be
Dune inspired
a little bit at the very least. And the album art kind of backs that up a little bit because you've got this castle that's in the middle of there is a river there, but it's a castle in the middle of this river, and then there's just sand dunes all around it. And I think what it is the people of this world in the album worship the sun.
Okay.
And whoever is the king of these people has to be like their envoy to the sun god, I think. Or something like that. Whoever's the king. Okay. There is a figure in the album, our protagonist, he becomes a king. Because the first track, the intro, is called Airless. Right. With an H. So it's
instrumental.
Yeah, it's an instrumental track, but then it leads into what's the second one? Trying to remember what the second one is. Oh, Perpetual Growth Machine. I don't really know what the title has to do with. I think they mentioned it's been a little while since I've looked through the lyrics. I did that last week, but so I think there's a man, our central figure. He becomes the king, and he's got to be prepared for meeting the sun or something like that, or he's going to become like some sort of metaphysical being.
I am the sun, I am the moon.
Yeah.
I am the sun, I am the moon.
He's going to become some sort of being that is outside of the normal scope of human consciousness. And in order to do that, he dies. He gets turned into dust, or he's got pieces of his bones. They put his bones in little jars. That is a line that sticks out to me every time. They're collecting what's left of my bones and putting them in little jars. It just sticks out to me because I think it's kind of because I love how he says little jars.
Little jars.
Yeah, it's a little cute for a second. And they put him in view of the sun, and he turns to dust, and then he becomes like this being. And I'm trying to figure out what exactly is happening in the title track, because it is very clearly about these people are being attacked by something and enslaved by something. So I'm trying to figure out if they're being attacked and enslaved by our protagonist, who has like lost his sense of humanity, or if they are being attacked by like the sun. And this is like the history and why they have this king that is their envoy to the sun or the cosmos or whatever. So I'm not entirely sure which one it is.
It's vague.
Yeah, if he's like become a monster and he's like enslaving them and doing this sort of thing, or if they're just talking about the way they viewed the sun. Like obviously, if you're a culture that grows up in a desert, you have a complex relationship with the sun.
Yes.
Like you think about ancient Egyptians, they worshipped the sun for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But they probably also were quite afraid of it because shit'll kill you.
Yeah, easily.
Shit'll kill you real easy. So I think that's kind of what that is about. And then the last couple of songs are him like gaining knowledge and understanding and growing into this being that he has become and understanding life a little bit better. The part of the uplifting sense of Sun Told, which is the last song, is one of the last lines. It's not the last line in the song, but it's the last non-chorus line, if you can really call a chorus. There's a part that repeats.
Right.
And one of the last lines is, if it's love they need, then open your heart and be set free. And it's like, did that just happen in this technical death metal song? Did he just say that? That is the line that hooked me on this band, because I hadn't listened to Owls. It
wasn't out yet,
or it had just come out, I think, or it had come out very recently. But I was like, I'm going to check out Rivers of Nihil. This is when I was still doing the podcast with Jaron, and I was just listening to it one night, and Sun Told was the song that came on, and that line ended it, and I was like, holy shit, I got to do this. And then I started listening to Owls, and I was like, I'm going to do this album because it's new, and also there's saxophone in it. Okay, that's cool. And I fell in love with that. But Sun Told is really the song that sold me on the band. And it's just so unexpected. I think that's their specialty, for me anyway, and why I love them, is they bring unexpected stuff to the table that you don't expect from like a technical or progressive death metal act. Like, I've listened to a fair amount of Opeth, but a lot of that is after you've listened to one Opeth record in their, in like the middle of their discography, once they kind of found their sound, that period of like 6 albums in the middle before they started doing just regular weird prog rock and abandoned the death metal part of their sound. That those albums, if you've listened to one of them, you kind of listen to all of them, because like, oh, he's
doing that thing again.
Yeah, Michael's gonna sing soft for a little bit, and he's got his really super deep baritone voice, and it's gonna sound nice, and they're gonna do some acoustic guitars, and that'll be cool, and it's cool stuff, but they kind of do it the same way, and I like it, but it's more of a good thing. But they never surprise you. I've never been really surprised. Once I started going into Opeth, I wasn't surprised by anything they did anymore. Maybe I need to dig back into them. But like, I listened to Blackwater Park, and then I listened to more of their albums from that era. And it was all kind of like, it's just kind of more Blackwater Park. Some of it's a little bit better produced. Some of it's not as good produced. Some of it's got some different samples in their intro, and this kind of thing. But Rivers has surprised me, at least barring their first album, which is a fairly traditional tech death album. But like Monarchy and Owls, there's stuff on there where if you've listened to tech death but you haven't listened to them before, and you listen to that, there's shit on there that you've never heard before. I guarantee it. And I love them for that. I adore this band.
And they changed it up with each consecutive album.
Yeah. Like this one, it was, oh, wow, I'm feeling so uplifted by this, and it's a cool story. And then in the next one, it was like, oh, wow, this makes me feel really sad right now.
But there's saxophone.
And there's saxophone, which is part of why I feel so sad, because it's kind of sad-sounding saxophone.
These guys are sad sax.
Yeah, hey.
Uh-huh.
That's I think I talked about it a little bit on the Owls episode, but like part of what I like about saxophone is it's kind of like guitar in the sense that they're both extremely emotive instruments that can change emotions very fast. Like violin is a very emotive instrument, but it seems like if you get into one mode on violin, it's sort of hard to change that. Whereas like guitar and saxophone are sort of the same way in the sense that you can move your fingers very, very fast on them and get all kinds of weird, wacky shit going on.
Sure.
Because there's so many buttons on a saxophone.
Incidentally, I did pawn my saxophone for my first guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of saxophone you had?
It was a Conn E-flat alto saxophone.
Okay. And what kind of guitar did you trade? What was your first guitar?
An Ibanez Roadstar 2.
Okay. I know Ibanez. I know of them. They're a brand that I know of.
It was a Japanese-made guitar at the time.
Okay.
I believe, not Mexican. But
it was a 9-string?
No.
You bought your first guitar back in, what year was this?
1990.
Back in 1990, you were the first. You were like, screw this 8-string thing. You know, there's this band called Meshuggah that's going to be a big thing. They'll like 8 strings. Fuck that. I'm ahead of the curve. I'm going to go with 9 strings.
No, maybe this was in 1992.
92.
Yeah.
You bought your Ibanez.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had anything other than a 6-string for guitars?
No, I've not.
Oh.
Well, I've had a 5-string when I broke a string.
I suppose you have.
Been there before.
I suppose you have. I think that if I remember correctly, Misha Mansour from a band called Periphery, they're a gent band, and he's potentially the actual progenitor of the term gent.
Really?
Possibly. People say it's actually Frederick Thorndal, but I'm not entirely sure.
So they all wear tux and tails and have monocles and
yeah, they're the
hats.
gentlemen. That was actually, I believe, a website that Misha Mansour had. It was called like Gentleman or some shit like that. But so in Periphery, if I recall, there was a Metal Injection video where they were on the Summer Slaughter tour, and I think Misha was playing a 5-string guitar.
Really?
Like an actual it wasn't, a 5-string bass. It was a 5-string guitar. And it was it didn't have a headstock. It was like a Strandberg.
Okay.
The ones that don't have headstocks on them. And it was 5 strings or something like that. And he was kind of joking. He was just like, yeah, everybody's going to 8 strings. No, guys, 5 strings. That's the future. It's like, all right, Misha, do your thing. It's going to be awesome, whatever it is. I like Periphery quite a bit. They're a fun band. They have a song called Icarus Lives that has like one of, to me, an extremely iconic intro that gets me pumped every time. And they played an April Fool's show once where you hear the opening riff to Icarus Lives, and then as soon as it's about to kick into the really heavy part, Rick Astley started playing. And nobody was angry. Everybody started cheering and then singing and dancing along to Rick Astley. Because you know what? Beyond Rick rolls, that song is actually kind of good.
It was a big hit for Rick.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. A true commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I can't sing. Oh, God.
Were you marking that for edit?
No, I just wanted to see what time we were at. Yeah, no, it's 8 strings are cool, I guess. I don't know.
I've seen a lot of those videos on YouTube where they have the 24-string guitar.
Oh yeah, Jared Dines has got one. It's like his 18-string or whatever. Yeah. And he can't even play the thing the way that you would play a guitar. Like the video that he made with the 8-string, it was on the floor most of the time, and he was playing it on the floor.
With the 18-string guitar.
Yeah, it's like that's the top half of that is a bass. You're basically like, it might as well have been a split neck with a bass on one end and a 6-string down on the other end.
Someday I want to own one of those.
A split neck guitar,
multi-necker.
Yeah, there you go. I think I saw a Hard Times article where it was like, rocker has surgery to separate conjoined necks or conjoined guitar. Those have always been cool. I just don't know how practical they are. It's like, how do you actually play one of those on stage in a band?
It's just for show.
I guess it is, but like, if you get 2 people on stage with those, a cool thing that you can do is you can switch off. Sure. Like one song, I'll play the bass, and then you'll play the guitar, and we'll switch it.
Sometimes they have them to where it's like one's a 12-string, the other one's a 6-string, and then
that's cool.
Yeah, this one over here is a tuned, this tuning, and this one here is tuned to this tuning.
12 strings have to be annoying as hell to tune.
Potentially.
Like, I feel like there's some way that you could make it to where you have 12 strings but 6 nuts. Ha, I said 6 nuts. You almost did a spit take with your whiskey.
I almost did. I have a friend of mine who was in
Wait, nut isn't the technical term, is it? Nut is the part that is that, where is a nut on a guitar? Where are the nuts on the guitar, OJ? OJ, tell me where the nuts are on the guitar.
Back of the head.
The nuts are on the back of the head. Oh, that's unfortunate. Real vulnerable up there. Don't want to get snuck up on. Somebody will hit you in your nuts, and they're on the back of your head.
Yeah. This is tuners.
So does that mean if Abraham Lincoln was a guitar, he would have gotten shot in his nuts?
Yeah. He'd taken a nut shot.
A nut shot. John Wilkes Booth shot the president in the testicles. Wouldn't that be a horrible way to go if you're the president?
She was shot dead in the nuts.
He was shot right in the groin. His testicles exploded. He was shot by the player character from the Sniper Elite games, because that's all anyone ever does in those games is shoot people in the nuts.
Crotch.
It's always crotch shots, so you can see the X-ray vision and see their nuts explode. So you can see Sniper Elite, the only video game where you can shoot Hitler in the balls and watch them explode. That's all you need. That's all that those games have ever needed. What can I do in this game? You can shoot Hitler in the nuts and see an X-ray shot of it happening. That's sold. You've sold me. You've sold it on.
What else is in the game? No, nothing else could be in the game. It'd be fine.
You don't need anything else. So nuts, the nut is on the back of the head?
Yeah, there are nuts on the back of the head, and
that's what the tuning knobs are attached to.
Nuts at the bottom too.
Okay.
Nuts down there.
Nuts are down there at the bottom? Okay. But so is it part of the tuning knob apparatus?
Yeah.
So I feel like
there's a nut attached to it, yeah.
I feel like you could build one of those for a 12-string that has one Sorry. I feel like you could build one of those. I can't fucking. I'm going to be okay. I promise I'll be okay. I feel like you could build one of those for a 12-string. I don't know. What about saying 12-string is making my
I don't
throat.
Know. Sort of like me and
an architect.
An architect.
I'm allergic to the word 12-string. What I'm trying to say is I feel like you could build one for a 12-string where both strings were attached to, the tuner or whatever, but it had one knob or peg or whatever that you tuned it with. Because for most 12 strings, the pairs of strings are tuned to the same note, right? They're supposed to be the same gauge and the same note, right?
An octave apart.
Is that how they do it? I don't know. I don't know enough about guitars. That's what you're here for.
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot here.
I needed someone who actually knows shit about music. We'll text our boss. He has a 12-string.
I never owned a 12-string.
You haven't. I feel like I said, I feel like they'd just be a pain in the ass. It's like your whammy bar that you had.
Yeah, my whammy bar that I had to lock down.
I feel
because if you bust a string, then all the other strings are affected accordingly.
Yeah, I feel like they make them better these days. They have to.
Likely.
Like I feel like they're probably a lot better.
So that was a guitar from 35 years ago.
Yeah, so I imagine the 12 string of not the 12. We're done talking about 12 strings.
31 years ago.
31 years ago. You're not that old.
Well, I didn't buy it new.
Okay. It was a used Ibanez.
Yeah.
But I feel like the whammy bars of today are probably the whammy bars of today. Is that like a metal band?
The whammy bars of today.
Not a metal band, but like I feel like that could be like a ska band or something. Hello, everyone. We're the whammy bars of today.
And a 1, 2, 3, 4.
I almost started doing the Cantina theme.
You did.
But yeah, we're the whammy bars of today. Everybody, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
And a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
That's all I know about ska.
Doing a waltz.
I've technically been to a ska show.
Have you really?
Technically speaking,
So have
I once. You have also technically been to a show, or you've just been to a ska show?
I've seen a ska band on stage.
Yeah, I feel like it might have been a similar situation to me, where a couple of years, the last Warped Tour I went to, not the last one ever, but the last one I went to, Real Big Fish was there for some reason, and I was just, it's probably for people's dads that that were there and were just like, hey, it's a band for us. And I was,
throw us a bone. Oh, Real Big Fish.
Oh, hey, look there, it's Real Big Fish. And so I was sitting down and was extremely tired and waiting for the last couple of bands of the day, and just drinking water out of my Camelback and sitting with a couple of my friends. And then Real Big Fish is playing, and me and my buddy are sitting there looking at each other. And all of a sudden, they play this short song. It was like a minute 28 or something like that.
Sure.
I don't know why I said
minute and 28. That's a
very
oddly
specific. I measured it. But they do this thing at their shows apparently, where they're like, "All right, this next song is the same song you just heard," and they played a fucking grindcore version of that short song they had just played. Like death growls and all.
That's awesome.
And it was actually pretty good. My friend and I were just bewildered. Here, top me up with what's left of that.
All right, I will. Here, I'm going to go around here.
But yeah, we were just so bewildered by what happened. It was like, did Real Big Fish just play a fucking grindcore song? What just happened? It was so bizarre.
That's really what they play.
That's what they want to play.
Right.
It just doesn't pay the bills. Real Big Fish couldn't make it as a grindcore band, so they decided to go for the far more lucrative option of ska.
Yeah. Well, it was big at the time.
It was, sure, yeah, it was, and they're one of the few bands that have managed to survive. What ska show did you technically go to?
I was at Lollapalooza 93.
Lollapalooza?
Yeah.
And so you were just hanging out, and there was a ska show going on in the background?
No, it was like a main stage. I'm trying to think of who it was.
Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
No, it was pre-Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
Pre-Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
Would you consider them ska?
I think people do.
Do they really?
I think so.
I thought that was like big band revival, but I mean,
I think they kind of go hand in hand. The whole swing revival is kind of went hand in hand with ska, and the fourth wave of ska
was swing.
Or was it the third wave of ska? That is the last one that happened. That was another Hard Times article where it was like, nervous punks are prepping for the apocalypse of the fourth wave of ska.
I'm still imagining Real Big Fish talking to their new manager. Hey, what did you think of our demo?
It turned into Nathan Explosion.
Yeah.
They said, well,
let me tell you.
They're just putting on a voice. All the guys in Real Big Fish are sound really gruff, and they go from Nathan Explosion in real life to their stage persona of Pickles. Hi everybody.
Hi everybody.
Alright, you guys. You fucking douchebags. I love Pickles.
It was a grocery store.
It's a grocery store, you douchebags. I think this is what they called the food libraries. I think the only Metalocalypse impression I cannot do is Murderface.
Is Murderface?
I can't do. Come on, you guys! I can't.
Come on, you guys!
Saliva on here. I can't do Murderface. I can do Nathan. I can't really do Nathan anymore either. That hurts too much. I used to do a great Nathan. Pickles is easy just because he's a Midwestern guy. And then Squiskar is down here and he talks like this. That was maybe a little too Russian.
Very Russian. And
then Tokis is up here. Squiskars, you so means to me. And make everything plural. That's how you do your Metalocalypse. That's how you do Metalocalypse impressions,
Everything's
folks.
plural.
That's all you have to do.
As long as you're doing Toki or Squiskar.
Yeah, everything is plural.
No, yeah.
Because apparently that's how Scandinavians speak English. I watched over the weekend interesting documentary called Fullsterker, which is about broadly about the lifting culture in Iceland. Okay. And sort of how there are so many strongmen competitors from Iceland, and how they have a history of there are lifting stones across the island. And these are like historic stones, basically, of different sizes. And Fullsterker is the name for a stone that is roughly, I think, like 380 to like 420 pounds. And Fullsterker means full strength. So if you were able to lift that stone, you were considered, the most physically fit you were the manliest, and you would actually get paid more if you were on if you were on a fishing boat, or
Really?
at the very least there was a certain limit of you have to be able to lift this stone in order to go out on our fishing boat, because we need people that are strong and fit to go out there. And so
400 pounds, though. I mean,
400 pounds, I think maybe was a bit much, especially for nutrition back then. But people lifted them. Obviously, they wouldn't have set that as a challenge and said, "This is full strength. This is
well, it's like the sword and the stone.
Yeah.
This is setting up to fail. Nobody's going to do this."
And obviously, people today lift them because you look at like Hafthor Bjornsson, who's a fucking giant. And
Where do I know him from?
He's the Mountain.
The Mountain. Okay, he's the Mountain.
The newest one, anyway.
Right, because there were three at least.
Yeah, three is the total amount. There are several mountains we just don't know. In lost episodes of Game of Thrones, this different guy played the Mountain.
Weirdly, it was Peter Dinklage.
Well, because at one point he was as heavy as that stone. So basically, it's like if Hafthor can do like a pull-up, he can kind of lift. It's different because its stone is dead weight, but like if he can lift himself, he can lift the stone.
Which you can probably do a pull-up.
I imagine. I would hope so. I imagine. Although, like, it's kind of weird, the body dynamics of a lot of strongman competitors, because obviously they aren't fast guys. Mm-hmm. They're built for power alone.
Torque. They're more torque.
Yeah, they're torque guys. They're a big diesel truck as opposed to, a race car.
Right.
They're a semi-truck instead of a Porsche. The movie was just this documentary was just about the culture in Iceland and how, statistically, Icelanders are the healthiest people in the world.
Sure.
And sort of how that plays into the culture they have. Because back in the day, if you were waiting to go out fishing, there wasn't really much to do other than, I guess I'm going to go lift this fucking rock.
Let's play a game. Lift the rock.
Yeah. Well, and there's one of them. I can't remember the exact name of the stone itself, but there was a priest or a preacher, and he had a Fullsterker that served as the gate to his pen for goats. And there's a stone goat pen because it's Iceland. There are very few trees, so their fences and stuff are made of stone. And so it was a triangular stone that served as the gate.
Sure.
And this is where he kept his goats. So that means every time he wanted to let the goats out, he would have to lift that fucking rock. It's like, how strong is this fucking pastor? Holy shit. And apparently, I can't remember, they call it like the priest's daughter or something like that. Because as it goes, his daughter was also extremely strong. And she was able to take the stone like 3 full revolutions around the pen or something like that. And so that is like the challenge ever since, is like for people to do, the priest's daughter or whatever they call it. Yeah, they're gonna do the priest's daughter. They made a little bit of a joke about there's one of the most famous strongmen from Iceland. I can't remember his name.
Magnusson.
You're absolutely it.
Yeah.
There you go. He was talking. He was telling the story, and he's like, "I would have loved to meet that woman." And there was a female CrossFit athlete that they were talking to, who, if I did not have the context of her being from Iceland, I never would have known she was Icelandic because she sounded so American.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. All the Scandinavian people have
fairly neutral accents, unless you're like from out in the country,
right?
But it's like if you speak English a lot, it can be so hard sometimes. As like she sounded extremely American, to the point where I thought like she had grew up in America but moved to Iceland, or like she was born in Iceland, moved to America, moved back. No, she lived in Iceland her whole life, other than when she goes and does CrossFit competitions.
Wow. And
it's like, wow, I never would have guessed. So it was a very interesting movie, documentary. And it's free on YouTube. It's called Fullsterker, and it's
on YouTube, not on Netflix.
It might be on other stuff. I watched it on YouTube because it was just right there on the channel of the company. It was made by Rogue Fitness.
Okay.
And they make weights and whatnot, and sponsor athletes and that sort of thing. And so somebody made this documentary for them, and it was fantastic, beautifully shot too. For a documentary about lifting rocks. I did not expect to enjoy it as much, but it was great. There's a lot of history. I just thought it was really cool. So that was not related to anything. But
we told you that to tell you.
We told you that to tell you, hey, Monarchy by Rivers of Nihil. Good
Great
album.
album.
It's a great album.
Yeah.
And I think now that you've listened to that, you need to listen to Owls.
Well, obviously, yeah.
Now you need to listen to Owls because
especially since you won't shut up about it.
Yeah. So you can finally get it and get my references. We'll just do another episode. Next week, we're just going to do Owls. No, so next week, what we are listening to, you're bringing Leprosy by Death.
Yes. Oh, no, I'm not bringing the album, just bringing the disease.
Oh.
I'm just going to bring Leprosy.
Well, that's bad. It's curable now, though.
It is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You can take, it's like antibiotics or something. It's pretty easy.
Well, never mind. I'll just bring the Death album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just bring that. Not the Death album from Death Clock. Don't bring Death album 1, 2, or 3. I mean, you could bring Death album 1, 2, or 3.
And we'd
I
listen
won't
to them.
complain.
It'd be good.
I wouldn't complain.
But we're talking about Leprosy by Death.
By the band Death.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're doing that next week. The OGs, Death, namers of the originators of the name of the genre.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, perfect album.
The late great
Death Metal
Chuck
December.
Schuldiner. Yeah.
Yeah, for Chuck. This one's for you, Chuck. For Charles.
Charles.
And then the week after that. Week after that is from Mars to Sirius by Gojira. I'm so happy.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be so much fun. The whole album is just going to be whale noises. Not the whole album, the whole episode. I mean, parts of the album are whale noises, but so yeah, I'm real happy and excited about that. It's just a meme of it at this point.
Yeah.
It's just it's good. It's so good, but like I love seeing Gojira memes where it's just like there's a picture of an Airbus Beluga. Yeah. And then the one underneath it was the vocalist for Gojira, and it just said heavy breathing. It's like he found the whales. He had to find the whales, and now he found them.
There they are, the flying whales.
There they are. They dwell in light, which is just the sky.
Right.
Like an arrow in the sky. Anyway, that's about it for this episode. If you like this sort of stupid shit that we do, please check out our social media and share just whatever you're on. If you're on Twitter, press the retweet. If you're on Facebook, press the share. If you're on Instagram, also press the share. I think it's also called share in there because Facebook owns Instagram. So I think it's just called share. Do that. Be like, hey, I think I like this. These two dumb fucking assholes.
Which we could have named podcast. Two dumb fucking assholes.
Two dumb fucking assholes.
And remember, it's out there. If you want to pay us some money to talk about you on the podcast,
or if you're a company and you want to sponsor us,
well, that would be
give us copy. Then we don't have to come up with anything to say.
Honestly, we actually come up with copy on our own. We are professional copywriters.
That is true. That is actually true. We can do that. But if you can send us copy. It's okay.
Or at least talking points.
MeUndies. Because I know you're listening, MeUndies. I know you're listening, MeUndies. Sherry's Berries. I know you're listening.
That's how you know you've made it.
Yeah, when Sherry's Berries Berries.
To
say it like Bill Burr, Sherry's Berries.
Redface loves his Sherry Berries.
Oh, Billy Redface. All right. So yeah, you can do that on social media. If you're a company, you can give us money. We'll talk about you to our 5 people who listen. I don't know where I'm going anyway. Thank you for listening to the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
You've made it to the end of another episode.
Congratulations.